Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of Success UnScripted, the podcast for ordinary people aiming to achieve extraordinary goals. I am your host, Miriam Hogans, and thank y'all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to this episode today. I promise you won't leave disappointed, and I hope you guys can take something away, something valuable, and share it with somebody. Okay, and I hope you guys, as always, have had a great day, a great week so far. And if not, you can start right now. All right, y'all. So I often hear people say that if you aren't first, then you're last. And I don't agree with that statement, especially when it comes to success or aiming to achieve anything for several reasons. Okay. So we've heard that statement throughout the years, like when you're finishing a race or you're trying to get to something or achieve something. If you're not first, then you're last. And I don't agree with that statement. For starters, I am afraid that society is producing a bunch of people who don't value success or the journey. I'm going to say that again. I'm afraid that society is producing a bunch of people who don't value success or the journey. So, what I'm noticing is that people like nowadays want to get there first and fast, no matter the cost or the price they'd have to pay. People are willing to do anything to get ahead, right? And I honestly believe that it all stems from power. Because what other reason would one want to get to a certain place or moment first? Like, what other reason? Why else would anyone want to get to a certain place or achieve a certain milestone first? I believe it's because of power. And I believe that a lot of actions stem from the hunger for more and the bloodthirsty desire for power and status. Like you see it, it's everywhere these days, right? And it's like people nowadays want a pat on the back for everything. They want a pat on the back and they want a right. And it's so annoying. It's like many people no longer believe in building and paving their way to achieving their goals. Like nowadays it's just quick and fast. Like y'all ever had slow roasted chicken or like ribs that were like cooked slowly in like a crock pot or on a grill, and the flavors that it it developed and the taste that it developed, right? Y'all ever had some slow cooked food before? Like try cooking chicken, that same chicken in the microwave or those ribs in the microwave and watch how it tastes. I guarantee you that it's going to taste different. It's going to taste maybe rubbery and dry and nasty, and the flavors may not be there. And it's the same. And I love using food analogies and examples because it just helps paint a better picture, right? So like nobody believes in building and paving their way to achieving their goals anymore. It's like everything is fast. And I have a serious question, like what is going on? Like what in the world or why in the world are there so many people rushing to success or trying to beat the next person to what they label as success? And last week, I talked to you all about coming out of your laziness, right? And today I want to encourage you all to pace yourselves. Don't be lazy while you're pacing yourself, but pace yourself. Do what is required of you to get ahead in life, but do it at your own pace. When we rush to finish or rush to beat someone, y'all, mistakes are bound to happen. Take your time. Don't try to rush to get there just because you want to beat the next person. And it reminds me of a time when I was in grade school. I don't know if y'all remember this, but we all had a habit of rushing to finish our tests because there was like a certain trend or admiration about finishing first. So like we all believed and thought in our head that the people that finished first were smart because they answered all the questions and they finished before everybody. They got to sit and do whatever they wanted to do after they finished their test because there was some type of reward at the end, right? And that's not always the case, right? That was never always the case for me. There were times when I made silly mistakes because I rushed to beat my neighbor. I'm finishing my test. I hurry up and go turn it into my teacher. And when I get my paper back, it's like, why in the world did I miss this many questions, right? And it's because I was trying to finish first. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it doesn't always work in my favor. And I can liken that to our paths of becoming, or to become whatever it is that we intend to become as adults. Okay. And I strongly believe that this attitude of competitiveness started in school, and maybe even early on in the Bible, and nobody, like in school, nobody ever wanted to be the caboose in the lunch line or in the line to go to recess. Nobody wanted to be last. Like everybody wanted to be ahead or wanted to be the line leader. And it's like the thirst to become first has always been like second nature to us humans, right? And so like we as humans want to do better than our neighbors, so we try to beat them at what they're doing and even do it before them. Like that's wild to me. And I just remember being extremely competitive back in grade school. It all started there. And I know, y'all, that we as humans are competitive in nature, but it is imperative, guys, that we gain control over it before it consumes us, right? So who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who builds the business first? Who cares? Who cares if your friend got married first, or wrote the book, or bought a house, bought the land, lost the weight, got the degree? Who cares? Goodness gracious. And this is something that I dealt with early on in my 20s, and I can say that now because I'm in my late 20s now, but I dealt with that early on in my early 20s, like, and I stated it before in one of my previous podcast episodes. Like I was living a life of other people, trying to be and do what they were doing, outdo them, and do the things that they wanted, that they were interested in. And I was doing stuff that never even interested me. I just wanted to beat them at their own game. Like, how petty is that? How childish is that? And I can think back sometimes and ponder on how far ahead I would be if I had not done that, right? So who cares? Who cares if they built it first, got the degree first? Society can be so petty and immature when it comes to these things. I was so petty and immature when it came to those type of things. Like, let's grow up. Let's focus on ourselves. You will get there too. And I have to tell myself, Miriam, girl, you will get there. Like, chill. Just sometimes you just got to put both of your hands up to the side of your face and focus on what lies ahead, right? You will get there too. And so, honestly, y'all, I encourage you guys to pace yourself. Pace yourself. And it's okay if someone gets there before you, as long as we all get there, right? As long as we all get there. And the interesting thing about the journey or a certain path is that all our obstacles are different. They all look different. Your obstacle may be smaller than my obstacle. My obstacle may be smaller than the next person's obstacle, and their obstacle may be bigger than the next person's obstacle, but it all is needed to shape and mold us, right? How are we supposed to make it to the finish line if we're turning around and looking at our component behind us or on the side of us, to the left, to the right of us, right? We're behind. We are behind because we're tripping and we're falling because we're focusing on the next person. You are behind because you are tripping and you're falling because you're focusing on the next person, the person around you, the person on social media, the person in your family. Oh, cousin Jimmy and cousin Luann, they already bought their house and they have kids and They have successful careers. They have a great job. They're making six figures or they're making five figures. Who cares? And I'm saying this with so much passion because I've been there and it was eating me alive, right? As long as we all get there, it is going to be okay. It is going to be okay. And so, you know, as a student in college, my freshman year of college, my experience was a bit different, right? So, and this is a personal testimony. So, I became a non-traditional student around my sophomore year in college because of life experiences. And there were times when I would become so discouraged because all of my friends were graduating before me. And for those of you who don't know what a non traditional student is, a non traditional student is a student that may have a family that they're taking care of, like maybe married and have kids and they went back to school later. Or, excuse me, they're older, right? They're not the average class age, or they don't fit the average demographic of the current class, or they may work full time, right? So I was a non traditional student. And college was different for me when I hit my sophomore year. And I would really become discouraged because, like I said, all of my friends were graduating before me, and here I was still in college, right? So the thing I had to realize is that their experiences were different than mine, right? They may have had a two-parent home to help take care of them, to fund them throughout college. I wasn't so fortunate to have that. My parents were supportive, in other areas, but I couldn't just go to school and not work. I had to work because I had to help pay for where I was living, right? I had to pay for a car. Those are just some of the things that I dealt with. I had to work a full-time job while being in school, um, to help my family, which in return caused me to finish later than others. But guess what, y'all? I got there. I crossed the finish line. I got there. You are not behind, okay? You will not be left behind because you can get there as well. Like whoever is out there who's, working to get through college, and you may be 24 in your sophomore year. That's okay. Don't focus on your age. I had to learn that early on. I graduated my senior year in 2019. I think I was what? I think I had just turned 25, I believe. Yeah, I just turned 25. And that wasn't the normal age to graduate for some people. But I got there. And the fantastic thing about it is my employers were excited to see that I had work experience. Like I had full-time, I graduated college with maybe 3 years of full-time work experience under my belt. And I want to say maybe it was more than that. Maybe 4 years of full-time work experience. And some people that are graduating college don't even have a lick of work experience, like at all, because their parents took care of them. So again, and that's nothing wrong with that either. Our experiences were different, right? You will get there too. Pace yourself. It is okay if someone gets there before you, as long as we all get there. But I wanted to come on here to say that because it's been bothering me a lot lately. And I've even heard people say like, oh, I could have did that. Or I wanted to be the first one to do XYZ. I wanted to be the first one. Or, oh man, they did it before me. Y'all, that doesn't matter. Okay. When we all die, and we're all going to die someday, we all have that thing in common, is an expiration date, right? We all have an expiration date. Nobody's going to be like, oh, she did this first or she achieved this first. Nobody cares about your timeline. Don't focus on your timeline. Just you keep your focus on what lies ahead and what all it takes and requires to even get there, okay? And a lot of times I have discouraged myself and talked myself out of certain things because, I was concerned, oh, I may be too old, or, and I'm not even old, y'all. Like, where's this stuff coming from? Why do we do this to ourselves? So I was talking myself out of things because I was afraid that I may be too old, right? But the time is going to pass us anyway. So you might as well get started while you can, right? I only feel that the time that the only time I feel that it's too late is when we're dead and gone. So do all that you can now, but pace yourself, okay? Pace yourself. Pace yourself, because you don't want to make bad mistakes and cause those mistakes to throw you off track and to make you lose focus on what lies ahead and the end goal, okay? And I'll leave you with this scripture, all right? That's all I had to say. I had to get that off my chest, but I leave you with this. Philippians 4, verses 6-7 says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." That scripture gives me so much peace, y'all. It gives me so much peace and so much hope. Like, if you be anxious for nothing and pray about everything and all things with supplication and thanksgiving, that peace will come over you. And you no longer will have to worry about getting ahead, right? Because you can get there too. Your turn is coming. Do what you need to do to get there. Do your part, and it will all fall into place, y'all. It will fall into place. So when you find yourself trying to race your neighbor or beat them to the punch, remind yourself that your time will come. Congratulate them and support them, but don't try to beat them, okay? Especially if you know them, especially if you're close to them. That's wild to me. You close to people and you're trying to beat them. That's nuts, right? Congratulate them, support them, but don't try to beat them. Don't stop working, you guys. Don't stop pressing. Get there the right way, and not because you want to get there first, all right? It is such a beautiful thing to see people work hard for what they really want compared to this fast stuff. Like, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate things that I've had to work hard for, right? And it may have taken too long, but that's okay. What is too long, right? Who decides what's too long, right? And that's one reason why I appreciate, y'all, this may sound crazy, but I appreciate and I love coffee brewed in a pour over with the pour over method, right? Compared to cheap coffee pot brews, like the flavors really develop and the taste really develops as well. So like, I really appreciate a nice pour over coffee because it's just slow, and the heat soaks in up all of those coffee grounds, and the water soaks it all in, and those flavors just they're amazing, right? But allow the journey to develop you. Allow the journey to develop you. Allow the journey to develop you, shape, and mold you, because you can get there too. It's not a race. Success is not a race. Life is not a race. Take your time. Enjoy yourself. Like my pastor says, the journey is for you, okay? Enjoy the journey. Let it develop you, shape, and mold you. And that is all I have for y'all today. Y'all be blessed. I hope you can take something valuable from what was said today and share it with someone, or hold it close to your heart. Okay? Until next time, God bless.